I gave my sister $45,000 in free housing, but when I wouldn't hand over my apartment, my family turned on me. I'm a 28-year-old woman, and I still can't wrap my head around what happened. So, I need to get this off my chest and make sure my family knows how out of line they were. I've worked incredibly hard to build a stable life. I'm currently the financial director at a major software company in Seattle. My younger sister, Emily, she's 25, has been living rent-free in my Bellevue apartment for the last 2.5 years. I also own the home I live in downtown. To give you a bit of background, Emily has always been the golden child. While I was pulling all-nighters studying finance and working unpaid internships, she was sneaking out to parties and racking up police citations for causing disturbances at Alki Beach. While I was celebrating my first promotion, she decided to pursue a career as an influencer. Last year, after I closed a major deal at work, she maxed out our parents' credit cards on $5,000 worth of camera gear that's now collecting dust in their garage. Despite all this, I've constantly tried to support her. When she and her fiancé, Ethan, who's also 25, needed a place to stay, I let them move into my Bellevue condo for free. I've also paid for her car repairs, and I've wiped her credit card debt not once, but twice. No rent, no bills, nothing. For their wedding, which is just 3 weeks away, I even gave them $45,000. Then last week, I got a text from Emily saying we were all meeting at our parents' house for dinner to discuss something important about the wedding. I figured they needed more money for something ridiculous, like the ice sculpture they've been obsessing over. But I had no idea what I was walking into. When I arrived, Emily, Ethan, Mom, and Dad were huddled together on the couch, whispering. They all went silent the moment I walked in. The tension was thick during dinner. Dad made forced small talk about golf, and Mom kept topping off everyone's wine glasses. Finally, when dessert came out, Emily cleared her throat and said, "We need to talk about your wedding gift," with a serious tone. Then she glanced at Ethan, our parents, and finally me. She said, "We've all talked, and there's something specific we think you should give us." I raised an eyebrow. I thought the $45,000 was my gift. She replied, "Your apartment." I froze, my fork halfway in my mouth. I seriously thought they were joking, until I saw their faces. "You mean the Bellevue condo?" I asked. They nodded. "You can't be serious," I said, putting my glass down. But they were. They expected me to hand over a $450,000 property as a wedding present. "You act like you're better than us just because you have a high-paying job and 2 homes," Emily snapped. "You're being selfish, Catherine." "Selfish," I said. "I gave you $45,000 for your wedding. You've lived in my apartment rent-free for 2.5 years. I don't even charge you utilities." That's when things blew up. Emily's face turned red and she yelled. Then Mom chimed in softly. "Your sister has a point. You're successful, and you have another place to live. Emily's getting married and starting a new chapter. This would be a beautiful gift." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I just stared at her, completely stunned by her outburst. But what happened next was even worse. Emily shouted, "Look at you. You're 28, married to your job. Give it a few years and no one's going to want you. At least I found love. And I'm the selfish one? Just because you're hoarding properties you don't even use. I've been helping Emily for years. Don't be so greedy, Catherine," Dad said sharply. "Family comes first." It felt like I had stepped into some bizarre alternate reality. "I can't believe this," I said, my voice shaking. I looked at my parents, hoping one of them would step in and tell Emily she was out of line. But instead, they both nodded, agreeing with her. "You just got lucky with your job," Dad added. "Some of us have to live in the real world." Lucky? That was rich, especially coming from someone who hadn't kept a job longer than 6 months. "Lucky," I said. "I worked my butt off all through college. I did unpaid internships. I clocked 80-hour weeks. Do you know how many hours I worked to afford those apartments? How many years I spent paying down those mortgages?" Emily rolled her eyes and said, "Oh, please." I snapped back. "You expect me to just give away my apartment? One I poured years of work and money into, and I'm still paying the mortgage on? That's not generosity. That's entitlement. Then Mom snapped, "Your sister's trying to build a life with Ethan. They want to start a family. And what about my future? My stability?" I asked. That's when the whole room fell apart. Everyone started yelling. Ethan, who hadn't said a word until then, finally spoke up. Once we're settled and have our family, this would all make sense. No! I cut him off. Absolutely not. The apartment's not for sale, and it's definitely not a gift. And honestly, after tonight, maybe it's time you found somewhere else to live. I stood up. I'm done. This conversation is over. You'll end up alone with nothing but your precious apartments. Emily screamed after me as I walked out. Mom started yelling that I was tearing the family apart. Dad slammed his hand on the table and told me to stop being such a pain in the ass. I couldn't believe what was happening. They were treating me like an ATM with a spare apartment to hand out. I broke down sobbing as I slammed the front door behind me. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely get my car key into the ignition. The next day at work, I was a wreck. I shut off my phone and tried to focus, but by the end of the day, I knew I had to check Emily's social media. And of course, she had posted, "Mom, Catherine, please be reasonable. Your sister needs this. Dad, call us. Your behavior last night was completely unacceptable. Emily, you've always been jealous of me. You're bitter because no one loves you." Then there was a caption on her post. "It's heartbreaking when your own sister chooses money over family. Some people will never understand what truly matters in life." She aired all our dirty laundry online. Again, the comments were flooding in. "Oh no, what happened?" Family comes first. "I'm so sorry you're dealing with this, Emily." She was completely controlling the narrative, making vague but dramatic claims about toxic siblings and putting money before love. Then my aunt texted, "What's going on, Catherine? Your mom called me. She says you're refusing to help your sister." I didn't respond. So what? Can you believe my entire family expects me to just hand over hundreds of thousands of dollars in property, and now they're emotionally blackmailing me because I said no? But things didn't stop there. They actually got worse. The next day, I decided to check on my Bellevue apartment. But when I arrived and tried to unlock the door, my key didn't work. The locks had been changed. I stood there, stunned, and pulled out my phone to call Emily. After a few rings, she finally picked up, sounding cold. "What do you want? Why were the locks changed?" I asked. She paused, then actually laughed. "Catherine, it's not your apartment anymore. We own it now." "What? Are you out of your mind? I bought that unit. I paid for everything. It's mine." "Not for long," she mumbled. "And don't bother threatening me with legal action or calling the cops. You'd never actually sue your own sister. We both know that, Catherine." Then she hung up. I just stood there, staring at my phone in disbelief. My first instinct was to call our parents, but I already knew what their response would be. They'd take her side. And they did. Back at my place, I poured myself a large glass of wine and collapsed onto the couch, my mind spinning. I considered my options: call the police, hire an attorney, but would I really be willing to see my sister arrested? As I weighed my choices, a notification popped up on my phone. Emily had just posted something new on social media. Against my better judgment, I clicked. The post made my stomach turn. It read, "Catherine won't be attending our wedding in 3 weeks. Ethan and I, with support from my parents, have decided not to invite anyone who doesn't act like real family. We're excited to celebrate with the people who truly understand what love and family mean." The comments section was already blowing up. Family, friends, and distant relatives were flooding in with questions, trying to figure out what happened. But Emily wasn't replying to anyone. She wanted to control the narrative, and she was doing a damn good job. Almost immediately, my phone started lighting up with calls from aunts, uncles, and cousins asking what was going on. I ignored every single one. What was I supposed to say? That my entire family turned against me because I wouldn't give my sister my condo as a wedding gift? I finished my wine, shut off my phone, and poured another. It was surreal. Just 24 hours earlier, I'd been at a family dinner. Now, with 2 weeks left before her wedding, my sister was dragging me publicly, trying to humiliate me. But once the shock wore off, something inside me hardened. They thought they had the upper hand. They thought they could bully me into giving up my property. They were wrong. If they wanted to fight, they could have won. I just needed time to prepare. I stayed quiet for a reason. I needed to get everything in place. And now I can finally talk about what happened yesterday, at my sister's wedding. I spent the next 2 weeks after the lockout planning carefully. I wasn't about to go down without protecting what was mine. I started by meeting with the legal team at my company. I told them everything. They confirmed what I already knew. No matter how emotional or manipulative my family got, my legal rights were solid. It's illegal to change locks on a property without the owner's permission. So I contacted John, a locksmith I'd used the previous year, when I locked myself out of my downtown apartment. I asked him for a favor. Can you meet me at my Bellevue property this Saturday at 8 a.m.? I explained that the current occupants had changed the locks without my consent. He didn't hesitate. I'll be there, he said. Next, I scheduled a team of movers and booked a nearby storage unit. I gave him incredibly detailed instructions for the wedding day. I also started collecting evidence. Screenshots of texts, saved voicemails, and photos of social media posts. I wanted to be prepared. Yesterday was a big day. I knew their wedding ceremony was set for 2 p.m. at the Salish Lodge, meaning they'd be busy that morning getting ready. My heart was pounding as I parked around the corner from the apartment at 7:45 a.m. John showed up right on time. As we approached the door, he glanced at me and asked, "Are you sure about this?" I pulled out my ID and property deed. Absolutely. It's time to take my place back. Within minutes, the door was unlocked and he began replacing the locks. As I stepped inside, I was stunned. They had completely remodeled everything without my permission. Gaudy wallpaper covered the neutral gray walls I had painted. Loud, flashy curtains replaced the sleek custom blinds I had installed. Some of my furniture was gone, replaced with their own pieces. At 8:30 sharp, the movers arrived. I led them room by room, pointing out everything that belonged to Emily and Ethan. Furniture, electronics, clothing, even toiletries. All went into boxes. My hands were trembling, but I didn't stop. Around 9:45 a.m., my phone lit up like a Christmas tree. One of Emily's bridesmaids must have spotted the moving truck and tipped her off. Suddenly, I was flooded with texts and calls. Emily, what the hell are you doing? Mom, Catherine, stop this right now. It's your sister's wedding day. Dad, I'm calling the police. Ethan, you're insane. I didn't reply. I simply forwarded everything to my attorney, who was standing by. He sent each of them an official notice detailing their unlawful lock change, unauthorized alterations, and the legal consequences. By 11 a.m., the apartment was cleared. While the movers took everything to the storage unit, I supervised a professional cleaning crew. My phone kept buzzing nonstop. Emily, you absolute witch. You're ruining my wedding. Mom, how could you betray your sister like this on her big day? Dad, you're no longer part of this family. I ignored every word. By noon, the place was spotless. I installed security cameras and took final pictures of the apartment. Then I sent Emily a message. Best wishes on your wedding. All of your things are now safely stored at East Side Storage, Unit 456. The access code is 7753. You've got 20 days to pick it up. Now that you're married, it's time to find your own place. The only wedding gift you're getting from me is a clean exit. At 6 p.m., I timed the message perfectly, scheduling to go out right as their wedding reception was kicking off. Then I headed home, poured myself a glass of champagne, and waited. At 6:01 p.m., just as expected, my phone lit up like a wildfire. I turned it off, slid into a bubble bath, and, for the first time in weeks, felt completely at peace with my decision. Curiosity got the better of me around midnight, so I checked social media. Emily had posted a tearful rant, claiming her crazy sister ruined her perfect day. But something interesting was happening in the comments. People were starting to ask questions. Wait, Did you actually change the locks on her apartment? You thought she'd just hand over a $450,000 property? Public opinion was shifting. Then my cousin Rachel, who's always been close to Emily, sent me a private message. I just heard the full story. I can't believe they thought you'd give them your apartment. For what it's worth, you did the right thing. The next morning, I woke up to over 200 texts and 47 missed calls. I didn't read a single one. Instead, I focused on getting the apartment ready for real tenants, people who'd actually pay rent. I contacted a property management company and began making plans. When my aunt called, I finally picked up. She said, "Your mother's hysterical. She says you destroyed everything. Did she mention they tried to steal my stuff and change the locks on my apartment?" I asked calmly. Silence. No, she left that part out. Didn't think so. To top it all off, I got an email from Ethan's dad, practically begging me to help resolve the situation. Apparently, they needed money for a new apartment deposit and had to cancel their honeymoon in the Maldives. If it weren't so pathetic, it'd almost be funny. Some people might say I was cruel to do all this on their wedding day. But let's be clear, they disinvited me. They changed my locks. They tried to take my home. Actions have consequences. Tomorrow, I'm meeting with my lawyer to discuss restraining orders. The messages from my family are starting to feel threatening. I think it's time. But tonight, I'm sitting in my downtown apartment, enjoying the quiet, knowing my property is secure and my boundaries have finally been respected. Sometimes, losing a family member is the price you pay to reclaim your self-respect. 2 weeks have passed since the wedding fiasco, and everything has changed. I'm back with an update to say justice was served. First, thank you to everyone who supported me on the last post. Your comments helped me realize I wasn't wrong to stand up for myself. Now let me share how things turned around completely for Emily, Ethan, and even my parents. The day after the wedding, my attorney sent formal cease and desist letters regarding the defamatory posts they made about me online. But that was only the beginning. While gathering evidence, we discovered something huge. Emily didn't just use my parents' credit cards to buy the $5,000 worth of photography equipment. She had actually forged her signatures on multiple credit applications. My attorney confirmed this as it was credit card fraud, plain and simple. I anonymously reported everything to the fraud departments of the credit card companies. Within days, my parents were getting notifications about unauthorized accounts and active investigations. Suddenly, their focus shifted from my horrible behavior at the wedding to dealing with actual legal trouble. But I wasn't done yet. Remember how Ethan claimed they could help with my mortgage? Turns out, he'd been bragging about their scheme to take over my apartment at his job. I sent a detailed email to his HR department, explaining the whole situation, including the illegal lock change and their attempt to seize my property. His employer, a real estate firm, did not take that lightly. He was immediately placed on administrative leave, pending an investigation. And then, I found something even juicier. Not all of Emily's spending had been approved by our parents. She had been claiming her failed influencer hustle as a home business, deducting her lifestyle costs from their taxes. I gathered all the receipts, literally, and sent them, along with proof that no legitimate business existed, straight to the IRS. Then came the real bombshell. My aunt, my dad's sister, called me and said, "I need to tell you something." Turns out, to pay for Emily's wedding, my parents took out a second mortgage on their house. And get this, she discovered they lied about it and claimed I had given them $45,000, which I hadn't. I hired a forensic accountant to dig into it all. The results were jaw-dropping. My parents had been lying for years, pretending to be broke, exaggerating emergencies, and guilt-tripping me into helping, all to fund Emily's lifestyle. Worse, they had taken out student loans in my name back when I was in college, explaining the oddities in my credit report. My lawyer sent them a formal demand for a full repayment and included a breakdown of everything we discovered. My mom's reaction? She had a meltdown on Facebook, ranting about her ungrateful daughter, who was tearing the family apart. But it backfired spectacularly. Screenshots of the post spread to the family group chats before she could delete it. Then a family friend who works at their bank chimed in. Is this about the fraudulent loan applications? Emily tried to play the victim again, as usual, but I was ready. I posted everything. Proof of the illegal lock change, evidence of the tax fraud, scanned copies of the forged credit applications. Every single piece of evidence went public. As her followers watched her carefully curated online image unravel, her influencer dreams went up in flames. Now, Emily and my parents are completely cut off from Ethan's family. They don't want anything to do with a bunch of alleged credit scammers. What was supposed to be their perfect wedding has become a symbol of their collapse. My parents are under official investigation for both loan fraud and tax fraud. They had to hire their own attorney, who reportedly advised them to cut off communication with me entirely. My dad's membership at the golf club was suspended pending the outcome of the investigation. Apparently, the club has a zero-tolerance policy for financial misconduct. It's incredibly satisfying to watch karma play out in real time. And every last one of their flying monkeys has gone quiet. Last weekend, my cousin Rachel hosted a family dinner. Emily and my parents didn't get an invite. After the 20-day deadline came and went, I donated everything left in the storage unit to charity. Meanwhile, I've been having my Bellevue condo completely renovated. Unlike my sister, the property management company already found qualified tenants, people who actually understand the concept of paying rent. Honestly, I feel better than I ever have. Sometimes, cutting off toxic family members is the best thing you can do for yourself. They gambled everything: status, reputation, financial security, thinking they could pressure me into giving in. And the most satisfying part? All I had to do was shine a light on the truth. They destroyed themselves with their own actions. I'll share more positive news in my next update. For now, I'm just enjoying watching karma do its work. And remember, being related to someone doesn't mean you're obligated to set yourself on fire just to keep them warm. Here's the third update. It's been 6 months since my last post. I waited this long because I wanted to see how things would fully play out. And let me tell you, the results have been more satisfying than I ever imagined. Let's start with my parents. They were devastated by the IRS investigation. Found guilty of multiple counts of tax and loan fraud, they were hit hard. My dad lost his job as CFO. Turns out, financial crimes don't pair well with executive titles. They had to sell their house to pay back the government and cover fines. And now they live in a cramped apartment in a neighborhood they used to sneer at. Their social lives? Completely wiped out. Dad's golf club revoked his membership, and Mom got booted from every charity board she once sat on. With a fraud scandal on his record, the best job my dad could find at 58 is part-time consulting. Meanwhile, their retirement funds are bleeding out thanks to court costs and penalties. Mom barely leaves the house these days. She's too ashamed to face her former friends. Now on to Emily and Ethan. Their picture-perfect marriage fell apart just 4 months in, after Ethan was fired from his real estate job because, shocker, trying to steal property is frowned upon. He and Emily started turning on each other. The breaking point came when he discovered she had secretly opened credit cards in his name. He filed for divorce and moved back in with his parents. His family, wanting to protect him from any more of Emily's financial messes, brought in a fierce divorce attorney. Emily now shares a studio apartment with 2 roommates and works as a barista, her first real job ever. She couldn't go back to our parents' house, and with her fake influencer persona exposed, she lost all her online followers. Her dreams of being a social media star are done. Her car was repossessed, and now she takes the bus to work. Last month, my parents tried to reconnect. They sent a long, emotional email about wanting to rebuild the family. But let's be honest, they're hoping I'll help them get back on their feet financially. My lawyer responded with a reminder. They took out loans in my name without my consent, and any further contact could lead to legal consequences. Now, for the good news, my life. I was recently promoted, and I'm now the youngest CFO in my company's history. The board specifically praised my integrity and ethics in their announcement. Funny, isn't it? The same values my own family tried to manipulate ended up defining my greatest success. A respectful couple now rents my fully renovated Bellevue condo. And yes, they actually pay their rent. I immediately invested the income into my portfolio. But the best part? That came later when I found real love. As I focused on building my career, I also started taking photography classes and joined a few hiking clubs to expand my social circle. That's how I met James, a software architect with a net worth of $32 million, who just so happens to share my passions. Unlike my family, he values my independence and success. 6 months after we met, while photographing eagles at Mount Rainier, we decided to move in together. Meeting his family was a revelation. His mom hugged me and said she admired the way I stood up for myself during everything with my family. Her exact words? It takes real courage to stand your ground, especially against entitled relatives. Thanks to smart saving and investing, James and I made a full cash offer on a gorgeous modern home with sweeping mountain views last week. Meanwhile, my sister can't even qualify for a studio apartment without a co-signer. My extended family has done a complete 180. Now they come to me for advice about careers, investments, even mentorship. Rachel's daughter is currently interning at my firm, and I'm helping guide her toward a career built on ethics and self-respect. Yesterday, I happened to pass by Emily's coffee shop. She looked exhausted, slumped behind a counter in a standard-issue barista apron. I didn't go in. Instead, I got back in my brand-new Tesla and headed to my office, where I manage a high-performing division at a Fortune 500 company. Sometimes I wonder if they ever think about how their own greed destroyed them. Mom and Dad, stuck in their tiny apartment. Emily and her roommate scraping by on minimum wage. Ethan, unemployed and living back with his parents. Meanwhile, I'm thriving. My portfolio's growing. My career's booming. And I'm building a beautiful life with an amazing partner and a family that genuinely loves me. My real friends value me for who I am, not for what I can offer. The sweetest revenge? Living your best life while the people who try to tear you down are forced to watch everything fall apart by their own hands. To everyone who supported me along the way, thank you. And to those of you dealing with toxic family members, hold your line. You may lose the illusion of family, but you'll gain something so much better: authentic happiness and real self-respect. Life is good, and it's only getting better. Thanks for watching and sticking with me till the end. If these stories resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you won't miss the next drama-filled chapter.